I tell you what, DJI, you make great drones. You really do. But I can tell you this much: your president, he definitely looks like Winnie the Pooh. Sorry, not sorry. Now we'll see how much. Now watch, the Chinese stormtroopers will come up and come out and take me out. Hello, everybody. This is Clutch from the Sodak Motorcycle Blog, and welcome back. Well, today we have finally the long-awaited video about drones. And obviously there's a lot of things you can do with the drone, and we're going to probably talk about my setup. We're going to talk about quite a few things today. So this isn't going to be a full, like, all-around distinct list. Like, this isn't going to give you all the details you need. It's just going to be kind of just a basic overview for someone. I'd say this is probably more geared towards someone that just kind of wants to start flying for fun. So that's kind of where I think we're shooting at for this one. But so, and this actually is based on an email. So one of our subscribers actually reached out to me via email earlier this spring, just asking for some tips and tricks about the drone. So this pretty much is what essentially I'm telling the email that I told him to you. So let's move on here. So first of all, the first thing I'm going to tell you before you start flying drones is it isn't just go get a drone and start flying. That's the furthest from the truth. It is not, because you're going into the air, and the air in the United States, and I'm sure in most countries, and I'm going to say this beforehand, this is based on someone who lives in the United States. Every country is different, every municipality is different, but essentially in the States, if you're dealing with stuff that's in the air, and the air isn't really defined, I mean, there's a case out there that talks about 149 feet, but that's not really, I mean, I guess you could use that, but that's not really the precedent either. That's just how the case panned out. I don't have any information about that. But essentially, if you're in the air, essentially you're in the Federal Aviation Administration's purview, and they operate that. It's essentially, you can think of the air as just basically, it's just a, I guess, and it is organized, but it may seem disorganized, but it's essentially kind of, you got the interstate highway system above us is what the air is. That's a good way to think of it. And being as such, because there's a lot of things that could go wrong in the air, there's a lot more regulation. And very much as you, like I said, you don't just go and fly a drone. That's just all there is about it. Doesn't mean you can't fly, but there are several restrictions when it comes to flying. So the first place you got to go when you're looking at compliance, you got to go to FAA.gov/UAS, and this is where all their unmanned, basically it's the unmanned site. This is where you go for all your information about drones. And basically, what did I have here? Essentially, once you get there, essentially if you're flying, because even if you're flying for recreation, you still have to take a test. Now, if you're flying recreationally through the FAA, basically at that FAA.gov/UAS website, that's where you can find the test for recreational. It's a free test. And also, while you're there, you can register your drone, or even before you get your drone, you can go there, you can set up your account, you can take your test, and then once you get your drone, all drones, well, for the most part, your drone needs to be registered with the FAA, and essentially, it's just good practice to do it. I would just do it. It's not that hard. It doesn't cost anything to register it, or if it was like maybe $2, or maybe it was $10. I can't remember what it was, but essentially, you want to register your drone with the FAA because that saves you a lot of issues possibly down the road. Now, if you want to go for the further part, if you want to make money off your drone, stuff like that, that is where you actually got to take the, you have to get certified as a commercial pilot for the FAA. Now, this test is not a free test. I think it's a couple $100. It's not free, and actually it's people can do it, and it's basically a test you don't just go in and just wing. Like, you got to spend some time studying. There's a lot of courses out there, a lot of testing material that you can sign up for to help you do it, and it's done every 2 years, or You have to do your basic test, and you have to do your fresher every 2 years. And that's if you're going to be commercial. That's where you go as far as the, the compliance part of it, which, yay, the fun or the not so exciting part, right? So let's take a look at these apps that you're going to be using for your drone. So as you can see, I got a lot of apps here. So, all right, so here's my drone. Now I do have the DJI Fly app, but frankly, I never use that. But I do a lot more work here, especially in UAV forecast and before you fly. So let's take a look at UAV forecast real quick because it's pretty simple, and you can get these apps on. I know they're on Android, but also you can get it at the App Store, I'm sure, because they always give all the apps to Apple anyway. So, and as you can see on this, it gives me, well, already it's saying it's not good to fly. Well, the reason it's saying that is because, so I set my my wind altitude. I set my wind altitude to 400 foot ground level or above ground level because, well, that's as high as I can go. So that's the highest I can go. And I set my max wind to 20 miles per hour. And as you can see, that's why it is showing me, because we're getting 28 mile per hour gusts at 100 foot above ground level, which if you haven't figured out yet already, AGL is called above ground level. That's essentially, that's the aviation term. That's essentially, you could say your I guess your flying altitude, I guess. Basically, it's what you are above. So, also it gives me my weather. It tells me what the temperature is. It gives me wind direction. Gives me sunrise, sunset. And like it actually gives me the current wind as well, which current wind is good. It's the gusts I'm having issue with. Also gives me cloud cover. It gives me visibility. Also it gives me the number of satellites I can see. And then here on the bottom, it'll kind of give me a little screen where it kind of tells me, hey, what's green to fly, what's not. And this one is probably showing the red because it's looking like the gusts are probably going to go on throughout the day. So, and you can pay for the fancier app, but frankly, this one is plenty fine. This one's plenty good for you, so you don't really need, I don't think you need any more than this. Really what you're looking for is what your wind's going to do. Now, let's go into before you fly. Now, before you fly, it's another app you can get from the App Store. And as you can see, and I'm going to blur that out because that's showing where I live in the world, so hopefully I remember to do that. So it's going to show you, basically, as you can see right here, it's showing me the areas I cannot fly. Basically, I can click on an area here, basically on that, and it's going to tell me what's going on with this. This is controlled airspace. Basically requires authorization, and it'll tell me what airspaces are there. Like that one is Ellsworth Airspace controlled airspace. And then also it says I'm nearby a DoD installation, which DoD, guess what? You can't fly on DoD. So if you're in the military, guess what? You can't fly on your home base. But anyways, I don't appreciate that. And actually we'll bring that up right here. So right there, restricted operations, current advisories, basically, and that's because you're on DoD. Now, let's take another look at another one. So, any national parks, national monuments, you cannot fly in national parks. As you can see here, and it's going to tell us restricted operations. And basically because, it's restricted airspace, mainly because of the National Memorial. You can't fly there. Okay? So, and it kind of lists all your airports all over the place. You'll see all kinds of things here. And it's like I said, it's a lot of good information. Like I said, you can see all these airports with their restricted airspace. So that's something to keep in mind there. Now, this other app, which is the LANC app, or Air Control. So let's go in there. That essentially gives you a lot of the before you fly functions. But also, you have the additional ability to go over here and you can request you can do a request. You can do commercial if you're doing commercial, recreational. You click through this and that'll just give you the little, basically you're going to select your little map, kind of where you want to fly. Okay? So, pretty simple, quick and easy. I'm not going to go through full request because I I haven't had the need to do this, to actually request the fly mission. Like I said, same deal. It shows you about advisories. And like I said, once again, look at that. There's your... The other addition, too, is it'll actually point out your classes of airspace, whether it be, Class D or whatever. As you can see, I live by an area where there isn't a lot of flying going on there. So, and also it highlights all your, like Wind Cave National Park, can't fly in there. It gives you all this information, which is really handy to have. Okay, everybody, so let's go over my drone setup real quick. Of course, you're going to have to excuse my mess of the table here because I've been kind of just all over the place today. Also, I'm kind of trying to do this one-handed, so we're kind of doing some issue here. So essentially, what I purchased, or what I was given, was the DJI Mini Pro 3 and was the Fly More kit. And, of course... Oh, there it is. Never mind. Okay, so here it is right here on Amazon. You can see it is $5.89 right now, and that's the kit I got. Basically, it's the whole kit, and why I recommend going with this is because it gives you, first of all, this nice little carrying case for it. Also, you get an RC controller, which honestly, if you're going to have a drone and you have an RC controller option, I would recommend going with the RC controller option, because at least with this option, I can run a full drone and I can do everything I need to do, but I'm not killing the battery on my phone, which, especially if you're a motorcycle rider, which probably most of you are because you're here at the Sodak Motorcycle Blog, you're going to be riding to places, maybe you're using your phone for navigation. Well, at least this gives your phone a break. And then also with that, you get the 3 batteries, the nice little 3-pack battery deal, which is kind of nice. So it's nice where you got 3 batteries you can use. The reason why they got numbers on them is because so that way you can rotate them as you're using them, so you're not relying on one battery, because just like any battery, they have discharge cycles and eventually you run out of them. And then the last part of this setup is the actual Mini Pro 3 itself. So let's go ahead and open that up. Oh, come on now. Alright, so and there it is right there. That's the Mini Pro 3, just a little tiny guy, just nice and tiny. Then the battery goes in the back here. And then the big selling point with these is when they got the battery on them, the regular battery on them, they're 249 grams, which is the cutoff for, if I remember right, that's a cutoff for basically, the cutoff between commercial drone and recreational drone. So, and then you can see on it, I actually have my registration number written in on the side. That's from the FAA. That is a requirement. And then underneath is basically the gimbal, and the gimbal is what does all your maneuvering when you're trying to shoot the video. So once again, this kit, you can get it right here in June of 2024 on Amazon for $550, which actually is not a bad deal, because they have the Mini Pro 4 now. They have a lot of new versions of drones, but I'd say right now, if you want a brand new drone and you can get going, this isn't a bad one to go with. I think this is a great setup for a hobbyist. This is the first drone and the only drone I've had, and I've been very happy with it so far. Very user-friendly, and I very much enjoy flying with it. So one thing I'm going to add on before I forget. So these batteries take forever to charge. I mean, if you hook this up to a regular wall outlet, it'll take them probably almost a day and a half to charge. So what you need to get is you need to get a higher powered plug-in outlet. So right here, this is I bought a 30 watt output outlet, and I actually bought this one from Lowe's. If I remember right, it was about $25. I guess I could put the price here, but I'm probably gonna forget. But I don't think I spent over 30 for it. But what's nice about this one is you can charge this full thing here. I charged it, when was it, about a week ago. I charged it, probably about half charge, and I think I had it fully charged within an hour. And I think you can go from dead to full charge within 3 or 4 hours. It does, or no, not even that long, like 2 hours. So one of these is definitely handy to have. because you'll probably spend a lot of time with your batteries not charged, because you'll go charge them up, you'll have a windy day, and then, oh great, it's too windy to fly, so now I just charge them for nothing. I'm trying to get away from that, but the nice thing about that is, let's say I pull them out after a month and they're about half charged. Well, you know what? I have a way to get them quickly charged up when I go flying again. So, and I also have the advantage of having a vehicle that's got a power inverter in that will drive that. But anyways, that's my setup. All right, so how about some additional resources for you? So one thing here, and I use, just like most people, I use YouTube as a resource for pretty much everything. Well, there's plenty of drone channels out there too. One of the better channels that I've seen and I've worked with, it's a channel called The Drone Creative, and it's over on YouTube. It's at The Drone Creative, and they have a lot of great information as far as working with drones. I'd say they have 3 playlists that I would go with. The one playlist is Drone Moves for Beginners. And then your other playlist is Drone Beginner versus Pro. And a third playlist you should check out is Biggest Drone Mistakes. And also, especially on that channel, if you have DJI drones, they have dedicated playlists for every single drone. Like, I follow the DJI Mini 3 drone because, like you saw earlier, the DJI Mini 3 is what I have. So anyways, that's where we're talking about for there. Now, we're moving on to before you go fly. Okay, so we've done that. We've gone through. We're taking care of the FAA. We've checked our apps out. We've done what we need to do there. We've gone to YouTube. We reviewed some things, but before you start flying, like when you first get it, like take some time to practice. Like go practice, and what? Like I said, empty football field, soccer fields, those work really well. They're generally wide open areas. There's not you have some lights to deal with, but for the most part, you get yourself a good, nice space. It's, like a football field, you're looking at, inside the track, there's not going to be lights to deal with there, only really the goalposts, and you're looking at a good solid, probably 100 meter by 50 meter area where it's kind of wide open that you can fly in. And that's basically where you want to go. You want to familiarize yourself with the controls. Big things also you want to look at is you want to see how your return to home functions work, what they do, what your hover functions do. Basically see what happens, check what happens when you have a loss of connection. Basically, you want to go through all those little moments of how to do that, so that way if you're out flying and you get into a situation where, oh, my battery died, where's home at? What's it going to do? Make sure you keep that in mind, because the last thing you want to do is when you're out flying is, let's say it's, you got it flying around you while you're paddleboarding at the lake, and then all of a sudden it loses connection and you have it set to return to home. But unfortunately, home has refound itself, and home is in the middle of the lake about 20 meters back from where you were paddling from before. So if you do that, guess what? That drone's going to land right into the lake, which means, well, no more drone. So those are the kind of things you want to work out beforehand, so that way you're aware of, hey, what's the drone going to do? Also, if you get a day where maybe the wind's up a little bit, also you can get a kind of feel of like, oh, hey, how much does the battery suck down when it's like fighting against the wind or with the wind or something like that. Another thing I would do while you're practicing is just get it up in the air and just fly that thing around and just see how long it takes for your battery to wear out. Those are some good things to keep in mind. Now, before you're flying, obviously you got to make sure you're clear to fly. Make sure you're good with as far as the if you can actually fly where you're at. Basically, that's where that before you fly app comes in. If you need to request permission, obviously get into your LAANC app, and you can request when you're going to fly and have a plan for when you fly. But also, before you're getting ready to fly, check your UAV app, your forecast app, to make sure that you're good for wind-wise, light-wise, weather-wise. Check your weather as well before you take off. And then also you're going to want to do just a quick little check on the drone to make sure everything's still good on it, everything's connected right. Make sure your propellers are still in good shape, all those things. And then obviously make sure you're not like drunk or under the influence or something like that. Another thing to keep in mind is, and we talked about this a little bit before, but remember, local governments can't regulate the airspace in the states, but they can regulate where you take off and where you land. So make sure you're good to go there. And if you happen to be on someone's land that's not yours, make sure you get permission before you go. And that just brings me up to my next point about it is when you fly, you don't want to be a jerk about it, okay? Like if you're flying around, let's say you're at a football field or something, someone comes up and says, hey, can you stop flying that drone around? You know what? Just be respectful about it. And just say, no problem. Land the drone, move on, go somewhere else, hang out until they leave, go do something else that day. But like I said, don't be a jerk about it. Like, please respect the people that would prefer you not fly around them. And I'm going to talk about this again. Same goes for private land. As much as landowners do say, I'll shoot the drone down if it flies over my land, which my dad's one of them, know this. That is actually prohibited by the FAA because you're violating airspace. Now, that being said, you got to be smart about it as a drone operator, okay? Like I said, get permission before you fly over land, or, here's another thing. If, it goes without saying, but don't just hover 10 feet above your neighbor's house unless they have given you permission. Like I said, once again, don't be a jerk about it, okay? And like I said, same deal. If I'm ever flying and a landowner comes up and says, hey, can you not fly your drone? Sure, I'll pack it up and I'll walk away. But I'm also not going to be a jerk about it as well. Now, all you tough guys out there that are going to shoot it down, once again, I'm going to remind you that to not shoot a drone down. Because once again, you shoot a drone down, guess what? You violated federal law. At least from the start. Maybe it's adjudicated different later, but in the end, black and white, you shoot down a drone, you've just violated federal law. You've possibly committed a federal offense. So just avoid that. What I would recommend if you have a drone situation, maybe go ask the drone operator, hey, can you not fly on my land? Now, if they're a jerk about it, that's when you can basically say, okay, that's in that situation, either call the sheriff's department or better yet, how about call the FAA and report them in? Because that is also a way you can have some enforcement on basically violations. Because in the end, you generally can't just hover over somebody, spy on somebody. You just can't do that. So please keep that in mind. And one final thing I'm going to say here, always keep your drone firmware up to date. And like I said, just like any other electronic piece of equipment, drones tend to have weird issues when the firmware is not updated. So basically, always make sure your drone is updated. If you haven't flown for a little bit, update the firmware. Just take the time and do it. Also, if the drone is acting weird, the first thing to check to make sure your firmware is up to date. Because in the end, just like anything else, when you call customer support and you're like, my drone's not working, the first thing they're going to say is if your firmware up to date. That's just what it's going to be. So make sure, just save yourself some headaches beforehand and just make sure you have that done beforehand. It just makes life a little bit easier. All right. Before I forget, one thing I am going to note. So it's not really it's really no secret anymore. DJI drones are made in China. They're a Chinese company. What sucks about that is, the situation right now is not good for, it's probably not a good time right now to be a well-known Chinese company in charge of something, as we've all seen with what happened with TikTok, which is still kind of here in June of 2024, has hit basically I think the law is passed where essentially either it's got to be sold off or basically it's going to be banned. I don't know for sure the update of that. I guess apologize that, but it's an interesting situation right now. And with DJI being also a Chinese company, guess what? There's scrutiny now with that as well. Bills have been introduced basically where essentially they want to ban DJI drones now. What sucks about that as well, first of all, pretty much the best drones on the market are DJI, period. Like that's just kind of what it is. Like, I'd almost think kind of DJI kind of almost started the industry. They didn't start it, but they kind of just did. Essentially, DJI right now, they're the iPhone they're like iPhone is to phones, well, DJI is to drones. So obviously, just so you're advised, you know, a time could come here maybe shortly where there's going to be a transition period and you won't be able to fly your drone. So I'm just telling you that. Just keep that in mind. Maybe think about that when you're buying your drones. But once again, here's the problem. You know, where else are you going to find drones that work as good and work as well as DJI? Probably not anywhere. So that's just kind of how it is, and that's the reality situation. So I just wanted to kind of explain that here real quick. But okay, I think that's all I got for today. If you have any questions about, you know, my video today and kind of my thoughts on drones, once again, you feel free to email me at sodak.motorcycle.blog@gmail.com. Also, we can talk down here in the comments section. Once again, for the Sodak Motorcycle Blog, I'm Clutch. We make weekly motorcycle videos. We talk about the Black Hills from a motorcyclist perspective, and also that the motorcyclist just happens to have a Honda Goldwing. Our videos come out Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. So basically, 7 p.m. Denver time is when they come out. We're the same time as Denver, Colorado. Also, I'd appreciate if you'd subscribe to the Sodak Motorcycle Blog. And while you're there, if you don't want to remember exactly what time my new videos come out, hit the bell notification icon and you will be alerted to future videos or any videos that do come out. And also, one nice thing about that too is you might be alerted to any other activity if I like post a short real quick, or if I do a quick status update on Sodak Motorcycle Blog. Since that's the only thing I have, that's kind of where everything goes on at. But if you like the video, hit the like button. If you dislike the video, hit the dislike button. Please feel free to leave a comment, but remember this, if you leave a comment, it's probably going to get featured on Comments and Beer, and especially if it's a really bad comment or a really stupid comment or, you know, just something like that in general, I'm probably going to try to make you famous, but that's all I got for now. So once again, for the Sodak Motorcycle Blog, I'm Clutch. You have a good day.